check, mic check.
You're making 31 to you,
All right, 30 seconds. Scrambling them. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. We are coming to you live from the 5th annual California Classic, taking part within the Fresno Highland Games here in beautifully warm and sunny Central California. We are about to start our second half of competition. It has been a wonderfully long morning of violence and mayhem, as we like to say at HMB. Our first matchup this afternoon is going to be Ursus Fight Club versus Cerberus Emissus. Ursus is the fight club from the Bay Area in Northern California. They are no doubt used to a much cooler climate than what they are experiencing today. Today, the forecast calls for a high of 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite warm for what a lot of these teams have to deal with. Taking the list now, we have some, here we go. Check that, folks, we got a audible coming through. Here you can see it, folks. This is where it happens. Men and women in steel armor, real, authentic steel armor, ready to fight. That is our Knight Marshal there. Once again, calling Ursus Fight Club of the Bay Area and Cerberus Emissus of the Portland area. Here we can see the fighters entering the list, the marshals there, the folks in the yellow shirts. They are conducting some safety checks just to make sure that everybody's armor is the right amount of dangerous. That's what this is all about, folks, the right amount of dangerous. Here we have folks using authentic blunted steel weapons. Each weapon, though, painstakingly checked by Marshal staff prior to the fighters taking the list. Let's talk about the teams that we're seeing right now. Cerberus Emissus are the fighters in the black and yellow, one by one making their way into the list. Ursus Fight Club. Ursus, if you know your Latin, means bear. So the fighters in the red, white, and blue cloth with the bear in the center of the field. That is the Fight Club of Ursus. Now, a wonderful show of sportsmanship here. Because this is what it's all about. HMB USA has a slogan that they are medieval in combat but not in value. This is what we love to see. We love to see the sportsmanship. We love to see the chivalry. And it really says something too, because these guys have to flip a switch. They got to go from being gentlemen, Knights of the Order, to fighting really hard, very fiercely. You can see already there's a cloud of dust settling over the list here. The fighters are chatting with the marshals just to make sure everything is up to code. The marshals have perhaps the most important job here, folks. They are the ones that keep everybody safe. They bring order to what is usually a very chaotic sport. Thank you for joining us, by the way. I am Landon Burke. I am your host for this afternoon's competition. We are getting ready to fight. The marshals are checking. The fight is on. Here we go. Cerberus taking a conservative approach, and there's the opening salvo. There it is, the flurry of steel, everybody. Some good, solid hits with the two-handed weapons. The two-handed weapons, those are the weapons of mass destruction in Buhurt. You got to keep an eye out for them. We're going to take a wide view here so you can take a look at all the action going on. You see there's a number of really good contests happening right now. A lot of fighters staying up. That is good on both sides. A testament to the training and discipline of the men fighting in this contest right now. Here we can see a weapon has been dropped. One weapon has been dropped. Now, if a fighter loses their weapon, they must go to retrieve another one. They cannot pull it off the ground. And here we go. A larger scrum happening there in the corner. And it looks like we might have a fighter going down. Oh, man. This is already a very long match. You can see a number of these fighters are fighting very conservatively, trying to keep, and it's down! There it is! What a cluster. That is a number of fighters down. It looks like 2 Ursus fighters for 1 Cerberus fighter have gone down. That's what you want. They say don't go down alone. This is a long fight. You can see the exhaustion is starting to come in. Looks like there might be a violation. Nope. The Knight Marshal, okay. What's happening there is one of the 4-on-1. That is a mercy rule. In favor of Cerberus Emissus, they take the first round. Quite a show. You cannot even begin to imagine the fatigue that these men in armor are feeling. We can see a number of Ursus fighters there still on the ground. One of them with the covered bassinet helmet there, kind of similar to this one on my desk here. They appear to be, no, they're up now. They're rallying. But that first round goes to Cerberus. So we'll see what happens in round 2. And we see the fighters are returning to their sides of the list. The marshals are having a bit of a discussion. Once again, they have a very crucial job. Theirs is the job that requires perhaps the most training. But then again, there's a lot of training that goes into this. We were chatting with some of the leadership on Cerberus, and they were telling us that they practice at least 2 times a week, and they train in such a way that is for these all-day tournaments. Cerberus, 4 points. 4 points for Cerberus, a very, very good showing from them. Here we can see they're getting some pointers from perhaps a captain or discussing with the marshal there. That's exactly what they want. 4 points for Cerberus, but this now becomes a battle of attrition. It is hot, they are tired, but here they go. Here's round 2. We'll see what happens. They may be exhausted, but you would not guess it. Look at that, a flurry of blows. They're getting physical. They're fighting for control of the rail. Some explosive hits there, back and forth on the punch shield and the short weapons, the one-handed weapons. Ursus fighter down, 2 Ursus fighters down. We're without a weapon. A bodied throw. 2 fighters down on that one. Let's go ahead and return to the live shot. We'll see what's happening here. It appears, and that is the end of that fight. The marshal has stopped it. We've got a number of pieces of equipment on the ground. Looks like we've knocked an elbow piece off on the ground. We have a buckler that has fallen. Someone lost a joint there. They will have to get that taken care of if they want to fight in the next round. All right, so that was Ursus versus Cerberus. Cerberus has now won 2 rounds. They leave the list victorious as part of this round-robin competition. The marshal is helping the fighters find their lost weaponry after the fray. Ursus having a little chat with the marshals perhaps before they go. They're on their way out. The next fight is going to involve the Golden Horde of Los Angeles and Ordo Draconis of the San Diego area. They describe themselves as the fighters of Southern California. So this next matchup of Ordo Draconis and Golden Horde is going to be really the battle for Southern California. So we'll see what comes of that. Ordo Draconis, the fighters entering the list now. They're the ones in the, there's a number of variation, but the black and green tabards is what they favor. You'll see, how about that guy there, fighter number 3 with the draconic armor there. Black and steel, I'd reckon. Once again, the marshals beginning their inspections because safety is very important. You cannot not prioritize safety in a game like this when you are swinging as hard as you are and punching as hard as you are. The Ordo fighters are getting cleared by the marshals. They will journey to the southern side of the list there. Sometimes the direction of the sun can play a role in combat here. Check that. Looks like Ordo Draconis is favoring the north side of the list, and it looks like there might be a little bit of confusion as to who's taking what side. As I was saying, lots of times the direction of the sun can play a role in the fight. You do not want to be fighting the sun in your eyes as you're trying to make your approach. So it looks like we have Ordo Draconis on the northern side in the black and green, and the Golden Horde in the black and yellow. One has to imagine when it's as hot as it is today, they rethink wearing the dark-colored tabards. I mean, they look great though. And the fight is on. We can hear the coach for Ordo Draconis, or the captain, excuse me. Oh, we've already dropped the weapon there. We've already dropped the weapon. The captain of Ordo Draconis and a fighter from Golden Horde is taken down by sheer magnitude of force. That is what you want to see. Okay, now what you see now is you see the strikers from Ordo Draconis looking for people that are matched up. They're looking for a double team, and they're looking to give a killing or telling blow. They're roaming around almost like a safety in the game of American football. They are looking for someone who is not paying attention. Another fighter from Golden Horde down. Someone has lost a weapon. Nope, check that. The weapon is intact. And we see that fighter just laying into him, and he brings him down. Oh, but he is brought down. A blindsiding on a blindside. And it looks like that is the round. Let's see, looks like the marshal's discussing. Looks like that is the fight. You hear someone shouting, dig deep. It is hot. And these men have been fighting all day. They've been fighting since about 10 this morning. This is the second round of competition. This is the afternoon competition. 2 points for Ordo Draconis. They will take it. While we are waiting for these men to get back to their feet and catch a little bit of their breath, we want to talk about some of the rules. Even in a game like this, rules is very important. You are allowed to double, triple, quadruple team. A captain may choose to throw in the towel as to not risk injury on his player, and there may be a mercy rule that comes into effect. However, you are allowed team attacks. You are allowed to flank. You are allowed to blindside. You can attack someone from behind. You are allowed to grab the list. We've seen a number of that. Fighters grabbing the list to try to keep themselves up. It's hard to balance in heavy armor. You can also see that immobilizing holds are allowed. You can grab someone, throw them around. You saw that a number of times. Ordo Draconis is exceptionally good at that. A couple of fighters grab an opponent, and then a striker comes in and just wails on them until they go down. Looks like we're ready for round 2. Ordo Draconis is already up 1 round. We'll see what happens. The fight is on. That's a piece of the Marshal's flag there. No effect on the game. Look at that. There's the opening salvo. Some intense strikes, but some good list grabbing. The overhead, the pole arms. Ah, you can hear it from here. I love it. You can hear the captain ordering some commands, watching them take the legs. And there's the 2 fighters down. The dust is beginning to obstruct our view. Let's see if we can return to the... There it is. It's starting to clear. There it is. You see that striker coming in for a... Oh! You can hear the crowd reacting. There's a little scuffle. The Marshal breaks down that fight. Looks like there's been a fighter without a weapon. Oh, you hear those blows. The fight has not stopped. It is still going. Ordo Draconis looking to make a killing blow. It appears to be 3-on-1. No. Here we go. We've got some more fighters hiding in the corner. Some savage blows here. You got to imagine how deep do these guys have to dig. 3-on-1. The Marshals have ended that contest. It would appear that Ordo Draconis has won that contest. 3 points. Now in this round robin tournament, we are keeping track of points as we go. Everybody fights everybody here. But where the difference comes is not only if you win, but how wide your margin of victory is. So in that instance, Ordo Draconis had 3 fighters to 1 Golden Horde fighter. So Ordo Draconis scores 3 points for the round. And that's what you want. You want to score as many points. It seems logical, right? You want to score as many points as you can. All right, the Marshals discussing our next matchup after the Ordo Draconis victory. We have the Warpigs versus... There you hear it. I don't know if you could hear the Marshal. Warpigs versus Niaz USA, spelled with a K. Very interesting story there. The Niaz USA, you see the sun there. It's actually a club in Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken, but this is their affiliation, their chapter in the United States. It's very interesting. They wear the blazing sun of Niaz, but they also have some stars and stripes on their tabards. But they are based out of Michigan, so you have to imagine they are feeling the heat. Niaz USA is facing the Warpigs of Sacramento. Sacramento crossing over leagues into HMB USA. I think we're all happy to have them. Fighters are ready. They're saluting their opponents. The Marshals are saluting as well, and the fight is on. Niaz with an explosive opening salvo there. And you see the flurry of blows. Couple fighters down. We have at least 2 Warpigs down. Marked at 3 Warpigs. Fighters are dropping now. And that's the match. 1, 2, 3, 4. Niaz, 5 points. A blowout. That is what Niaz wants under their belt right now. Now, in addition to obviously scoring more points on such a feat, you also stay fresh. Because it's a long fight, folks. All right, a little bit of a sweep there on the right. There's the explosion. A big pop for one of the polearms users there. There's a takedown. Warpigs are down. Niaz coming in for the kill. They're working the double team. The movement is incredible to see. We have lost a weapon, and Niaz fighter is getting another weapon. He is taking the falchion. He's going in. And this one is over. Another one for Niaz. 5 points again for Niaz. I take that back, folks. They are not struggling in the heat. The blazing sun is drawing power from it. Yeah. You hear they're fired up. You can't imagine how tired these men are, but they are ready to fight. So with that, Niaz USA takes the win on that. Next up, we have Cerberus Emissus again against the fighters of Gauntlet and the Rose. Gauntlet and the Rose is the home team of sorts here. They're based in Fresno, California. They practice in the South Valley, if you're familiar with the area. Now, for those of you watching locally with our friends on CMAC, of course, you know where the South Valley is, but we are actually streaming worldwide right now. We are all over the web. We are all over the world. This broadcast is brought to you by Buhurt League and HMB USA. The broadcasts by ABC 30 Action News in Fresno, California, and CMAC in Fresno as well. We hear you folks, we've got some chat going on. One of you astute viewers asked, why is there a Scotsman as the logo of the California Classic? That's a great question, folks. I can tell you, though, because this event, for the last 5 iterations, has been a part of the Fresno Highland Games. It is an awesome demonstration that is going on right now. If you look around in the background, you can see some folks in kilts, some tartan kilts. They are part of the Highland Games. We had an amazing opening ceremony here not too long ago. Lots of Scottish pride here in Central California. So that is why the logo for the California Classic is a Scotsman. Valid question. Now, once again, we have Cerberus Emissus and Gauntlet the Rose are ready to fight next. We're looking at some of the fighters from Cerberus there. You can see by the three-headed dog on their coat of arms. Gauntlet the Rose there in the green and white with the rose emblem on their tabards there. They're chatting, talking some strategy. The marshals are getting everything ready. A hush falls over the crowd as they prepare for what's about to come. And the fighters are taking the field. A little bit of caution exercised here. We can see some testing flanks there. And this is how it goes. And then the explosion. We can see the fighters crashing into one another. Several fighters down. We've lost a helmet. We've lost a helmet. Fighters will avoid that. They will get the fighter to safety as soon as they can. Stop fight. That is the fight. Five points for Cerberus. Another sweep. Marshals are having a bit of a discussion. Marshals are chatting with the captains from, that is Mark Jackson, the captain of Gauntlet and the Rose. We'll be chatting with him later on in this broadcast. He is not only the captain of the team, but he's also the organizer for the event today. Really, a lot has to be said for his organizational abilities, because this is a event that usually takes a year to plan. Mark Jackson and his entourage planned this event in about 3 months. A lot of that has to do with COVID and the uncertainties. Those of you who have followed California politics know that the state was in a shutdown for a while. It was unclear whether things were going to be able to proceed at all. We have received the blessing from the health department. We're working with the Fresno County Department of Health on such an event, as one must do in an event this size. Looks like there is some discussion between the fighters in Gauntlet the Rose and the marshal. Looks like there is a fighter who is kneeling. In the meantime, Cerberus is using this as an opportunity to talk strategy, talk a plan. This contest is as much physical as it is mental. Cerberus is led by Daniel Krug, He's the tall fellow, number 2 there. The only thing that bites harder than Daniel Krug's axe are his dad jokes. Seriously. He was telling me quite a few of them earlier. The guy's like a machine gun of terrible puns. Looks like there is some discussion going on in the camp of Gauntlet and the Rose. I think they might be suiting up a replacement of sorts. This can happen, especially toward the end of the tournament. Looks like we are adjusting a helmet there. That fighter is a Cade Zimmerman of Gauntlet and the Rose, being assisted there by another teammate. And looks like we are ready for the next round. Marshall is saluting, and it is on. They're coming forward. Both teams exercising a bit of caution. They cannot afford to waste any energy. A big strike delivered by Cerberus. Daniel Krug once again. Both teams seem to be fighting for control of the list. You can see there at the bottom right of your screen. They're exercising caution, trying to stay close to this. They can use it for support. Again, both teams fighting for control of the list. Gauntlet Rose fighter trying to come in. Things are getting explosive. Rushing in, we'll see if we can get that shot. There it is. This is where the action's happening. Trying to pull him down. There's a Cerberus fighter down. And a Gauntlet and the Rose fighter down. 2 Gauntlet and the Rose fighters down. Some savage strikes being thrown here. You can see the bodies piling up. And that is the fight. 4 points for Cerberus. And that is the second round. And so Cerberus has claimed victory in this competition. Gauntlet and the Rose fighters saluting their opponents. Some good gestures there, some gauntlet bumps, as it were. They're now clearing the list. There is a lot of equipment that is used here. We've got a graphic that we could show you showing, this is from a Buhurt League website, taking a look at all the equipment that the fighters use on any given competition. Quite a lot of gear. It's about 60 pounds of gear. You could the soldiers, the men-at-arms of antiquity would wear all of this, from the helmet to the sabatons. The armor is inspected by the marshals prior to the competition, but as you can see, they take some licks, so the armor is prone to break. All right, so this next competition, this is event 15. We have the Golden Horde of Los Angeles versus Ursus Fight Club of the Bay Area. The Golden Horde once again taking the southern side of the list, a fitting position for them. Marshals checking their equipment, making sure everything is up to code. The Golden Horde getting ready to fight. It's quite warm in Los Angeles this time of year, but you do get a little bit of a breeze from the Pacific. Here it is hot, it is dry, it is basically a desert, folks. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it in the cameras, but there is a cloud of dust billowing up and around us. Looks like the Golden Horde is relocating to the northern side of the list. And we do have a bit of a clarification on some rules. This is a newer rule implemented about 2 years ago. We want to talk more about the white flag there. The white flag can be thrown by the captain in the event that a fight is quite one-sided, or for any reason, really. The first white flag is a lost round, Your opponent gets 5 points as if it were a shutout. The second white flag, the use of the white flag, is a lost fight. So that's essentially 10 points to your opponent. That's two shutouts. And the third white flag is a disqualification from the tournament. So this is something that folks do not take lightly. It is to be used only when a captain feels perhaps that a fighter's physical well-being is at peril, and they may not be able to continue fighting if this round were to play out. I want to apologize to our viewership in Europe for in advance as I try to pronounce Ukrainian Russian words. I'm doing my best. That's all I can say. I appreciate your notes, though, folks. And that is something that is really cool about this this game here, this sport, is that you have fighters from all over the world educating each other on each other's cultures. And here's the fight: Ursus versus Golden Horde. And there's the explosive salvo. The fighters meeting right in the middle of the list. Eager, a fighter down, Ursus fighter down, if I'm not mistaken. Fighters really taking to the four corners of the list, making our camera crew earn their paycheck. We actually have a volunteer camera crew, so most of them are not getting paid. There's an explosive blow down. The fight seems to be located here in the northern side of the list. Some good tie-ups, you can see it all right here. Some explosive knees, a shield punch, a rear takedown, another Ursus fighter down. Let's see if they can use that body as a tripping ground. Some blows, the marshals are keeping a close eye. Another tumbling mass goes down. That fight is over. Golden Horde is the winner of that round. They score 3 points on the round robin tournament. That is a very good win for the Golden Horde. Fighters are picking themselves up. That's another thing. When you're wearing 60 pounds of armor, it is quite exhausting just to even pick yourself up. The fighters have roughly a minute to get back to their side of the list, rally themselves, and folks, that's not a long time to catch your breath. That is a very, very difficult task, especially the later we get into this competition. We can see the Golden Horde doing a little bit of discussion, talking about what went well. Ursus, no doubt doing the same. Looks like the marshal is inspecting one of the fighters' gear. We're chatting with the marshal. Marshal coming in. That's a common problem area is under the chainmail or the aventail there. That is a common area to run into some issues. Fighters doing a little bit of strategy. You can see the Ursus fighters adjusting there. And they march out. They salute their opponents. Both sides exercising caution, trying to save their energy as best they can. An opening salvo on the eastern side, and there's the hit. Ursus explodes forward. You could hear the captain shout, "Ursus!" Perhaps a kill command. We have a fighter down, an Ursus fighter down. Here's the double team, an explosive. Look at the bottom left side of your screen there. Some explosive hits. I know I've been saying that word a lot, folks, but that's the only way to describe it. Wisely, the Golden Horde fighter wraps up the axe head, kind of a Dane axe kind of a thing. Some powerful overhead blows. You cannot afford to take many hits like that. Back and forth. You can hear the crowd is reeling. These fighters are exhausted, but they're not giving up. And this is it. This is the final few. And there's 2, 3 down. It looks like there's still a one-on-one competition, perhaps. It's hard to see, hard to tell, but it appears to be. Oh, this is what it's all about, folks. One-on-one. Two-handed axes. Oh, and there it is! The good old Olay treatment. Ursus wins by 1 point. You know, it's a bit of a catch-22, folks, because on one hand, it's a 1-point victory. However, you have to be proud of a fight like that, of a win like that. The wins are the most sweet when they are hard fought. But now the downside of this is the fighters are going to be very fatigued. That took a lot out of them. There were some really heavy hits that were delivered. And really every man fought to the bitter end on that. And we can see the fighters trying to catch their breaths as best they can. We've probably got a couple hundred people here in attendance. Some Highlanders come to watch the California Classic. A little bit of discussion here from the marshals, trying to figure out what exactly is broken, what is still workable. Something that you have seen a few times, we haven't seen it as of late, but it bears, it is worth mentioning. If a fighter drops their weapon, they cannot pick it up off the ground. They must either run back to their side of the list and accept a weapon from a teammate who is not fighting, or some of them carry a secondary weapon in a scabbard, carry a sidearm. And here's the second round of competition. We see some testing blows here. Looks like a bit of an exchange. Fighters down. More fighters down. The fighters are dropping quickly now. Ursus, some energy on their side. They're trying to regroup here. Situational awareness goes a long way in armored combat. And it looks like we have all of our remaining fighters. Look at that! An avalanche. A fighter has lost his helmet. The marshals will step in to protect him. The marshals will talk. That may be the match. The fight has stopped. They are examining the fighter who is on the ground. Okay, it looks like the fighting has resumed now. Looks to be a one-on-one. Another one, and a tabletop! Using a fallen fighter as a weapon. The Golden Horde wins this contest 1 point. What a show. Let's talk a little bit more about what we saw. We saw one of the members of the Golden Horde trip an Ursus fighter over the body of a fallen comrade. That is a very good move to do, because these men practice staying on their feet. They practice not going down. And whenever you can utilize a fallen comrade in that way, that's about as good as it gets. It also gives the fallen comrade another shot at glory, because technically they contributed to making a kill. So it's good news for them. Marshals once again doing a point of discussion. Communication is essential in this game. Now we call it a game in that it is a sport with rules, and there is a clear winner. But for a lot of people, there's much more than that. If you would like to find out more about medieval combat, you can log on to usahmb.com or buhurtleague.com for that matter. You can find out about the chapter near you. You can find out about how you can get involved and how you can learn more about this up-and-coming activity. A lot of the men and women that compete in medieval combat are themselves veterans of various branches of armed forces. They are people like myself who are just history nerds that love to watch, love to get involved any way they can. We say this is a game, but for a lot of people, this is life. They train multiple times a week for multiple hours. They come out here, some of them driving terribly far distances, all so that they can put on a show. They can make this medieval combat come to life. They can knock some heads, and then after it's all said and done, go out and have a drink together. Here we have Ordo Draconis. And I'm going to say Niaz USA, because that's what our Knight Marshal is saying. Once again, I apologize to any of our Eastern European viewers. Wow! Oh my goodness, what a takedown. Oh, that had to hurt. Here we can see the fighters really taking all corners of the ring. The Marshals really having to keep another fighter down. The Marshals having to keep their heads on a swivel to not get an axe to the head. These guys are ready for blood. There's some good strikes. Really, the most popular arrangement here is the small Pavis punch shield and a one-handed weapon paired with the two-handed axe. The pole arms can really do a lot of damage. They're what bring the folks down. All right, we're going to go for a tight shot here because there's really not that many fighters left. Oh, but they're spreading out again. They're smart. They're keeping their distance. They're keeping their tactical mindset, which is hard to do, folks. You wouldn't know, but in those helmets, you can barely see, you can barely hear. Another fighter down. We can see the captain for Ordo Draconis getting heated. Niaz USA coming through. Looks like a fighter has lost a weapon. The marshal's breaking it up just for the moment. Looks like that's the match. Niaz wins that by 4 points, 4 fighters. A very good showing. That's exactly what they want. The sun is burning bright in Central California. I'm not talking about the one overhead. I'm talking about the one on the list right now. Ordo is chatting, their captain, leading a discussion, giving them a little direction. You can hear that. Well, I don't know if you can hear it. I could hear it. Stay out of the middle, is what the Ordo captain says. Oh, some big hits from the two-handed axes. Lots of movement. Ordo favors the movement. They love to send the strikers in, as you see right there. Some big hits bashing into the list. Some good takedown. One Naz fighter down, one Ordo fighter down there. And 2 more fighters down. The fighting seems to be pretty evenly matched. Situational awareness goes a long way. The fighters are trying to find their allies, position themselves with them. Some good punches there. The Ordo fighter baiting him away, trying to get him on a one-on-one. A good hit into the list there. Some flurries with the falchion. This is where all the action is, folks. And this is where fatigue sets in. They're trying their best to defend themselves, but also bring some heat. The fights tend to find themselves to the corner of the list because you see the Niaz fighter there is bracing himself on both ends of the list, trying to keep himself up. But he'll venture out if he has to. But the fighters are trying to keep a grip on the list. There's a down fighter. 2-on-1 Niaz. 2 versus 1. Ugh. You can feel those shots. Good, clean hits. He's trying to break his opponent. That Ordo fighter staying up thus far. The Niaz fighter giving a good heel kick. Trying to settle it. A lost weapon, but we lost weapon. Ordo fighter has lost his weapon. He's taking some punishing blows. He does not have a weapon. He cannot. He has lost a gauntlet. He has lost a gauntlet. The marshal stops that competition as soon as it is clear that the fighter has lost a vital piece of his armor. Niaz wins that contest by 2. He lost a gauntlet. Some quick thinking, quick acting on the marshal's behalf there. Niaz has won that round by 2 points. Once again, folks, these fighters are here to hurt, but we do not want injuries. We do not want people getting hurt so that they miss the next fight or they miss practice. That's why you'll see whenever a fighter loses a vital piece of armor, they will be removed from the competition. Now that Ordo fighter lost his falchion. He lost his sword, but he could still stay in the fight. You saw him reach for his teammate. The teammate was searching for another weapon. The teams will often keep a cache of one-handed or two-handed weapons just outside of the list. So in the event that a fighter loses a weapon, they can run back to their side of the list and they can be handed a weapon. Under the rules of engagement, a fighter cannot fight back if they do not have a weapon. That's why you'll see some fighters carry a sidearm. They'll carry another weapon on their side so that if they do drop it, they can run and go get it. Sometimes tactically too, a fighter will try to switch to a different weapon of sorts. Maybe they start the fight with a falchion and shield, and it becomes clear that that's the wrong weapon of choice. They may ditch their weapons and they may take a two-handed axe. Worth pointing out, if they lose their shield or their buckler, they can continue to fight. They can continue to fight back. But if they do not have a weapon in their hand, they are not out yet. But they must retrieve the weapon before they can fight back. So they just, they just soak up some blows, basically. But in that instance, if a fighter loses a piece of armor, the marshal will shut that down. Because you can't imagine how much damage you can suffer if you take a falchion, a steel weapon like this one. You take a steel weapon like this one to the hand. So for those of you who are not super familiar with the rules of the sport and are wondering what is on my timeline right now, this is historic medieval combat. This is Buhurt, as it's known, sometimes Buhurt, sometimes Buhurt. I think it's called more Buhurt in parts of Western Europe. But we are using real steel weapons. They are blunted. This is a smooth, rebladed steel edge, so I do not risk cutting myself, but it is full weight. And as you can imagine, this weapon coming down on your hand when you are unarmored can do a lot of damage. So that is why you see that frenzied barrage of those yellow flags coming in when folks lose pieces of armor, because we do not want anyone taking unarmored strikes. Let's talk a little bit more about the penalties. We've been kind of talking about the rules, chatting about the rules as we go on. You can do a lot in Buhurt. We've talked about what is allowed. Let's talk about what's forbidden. Stabbing attacks. You cannot stab with the front of your weapon. Lunging strikes, they are not allowed. You can do overhead, you can swing, you can swing as hard as you want, but it cannot be a stabbing attack. Submission holds. You cannot do any choke holds or any joint manipulation. You are allowed to hold someone insofar that you are trying to limit their movement. You cannot try to break them through their armor. We don't want to see any arm bars. We don't want to see any choke holds. The marshals, the Knight Marshal in particular, has given a number of warnings about axemen using their two-handed axes to wrap the fighters around the neck and throw them to the ground. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see any neck manipulation. There are also some forbidden areas. The marshals do not want to see you attack the neck. You can come real hard down on the clavicle, collarbone, but anything with that chainmail, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see any strikes to the back of the knees, because that is an articulation point. That is where that is not armored. They don't want to see anything to the groin. Basically, they don't want to see anything to anywhere where the armor parts to allow movement. You can do a whole heck of a lot, folks, but there are some things that you cannot do. Looks like the marshals are having a discussion with the next fighter. Let's go ahead and talk about who's fighting next. We have the looks to be the Golden Horde is on the north side of the list, and the Warpigs are on the southern side of the list. If I'm not mistaken, this is Fight 18. We are entering the final stretch of the competition, folks, so this is where discipline is really a matter of it. So we have, once again, it is there looks to be a shuffling here. This can happen. Like any battle, plans change. And you really do, it does really take keen-mindedness to organize what exactly is going on. Looks like we're shuffling around a little bit, folks. This can happen. This tournament here is a living, breathing event, and frankly, we'd have it no other way. That keeps things exciting for the fans. That keeps things exciting for the viewers. Keeps the fighters on their toes. Keeps them fresh. Our marshals here having a little discussion. Just off the list, they are doing a little bit of putting their heads together, making arrangements. Once again, this is a production of Buhurt League and HMB USA. HMB USA is very excited to be using the HMB, or pardon me, the Buhurt League social media pages for streaming. Streaming is made possible by CMAC, that is a Community Media Access Collaborative, and ABC 30 Action News in Fresno, California. We have a number of, everybody here is a professional, but some of them are volunteers. Lots of volunteers. These are nonprofits that put on this California Classic. For those of you wondering why a Scotsman is the insignia of the California Classic, it is because the traditional home of the California Classic for the last 5 iterations has been nestled right in the heart of the Fresno Highland Games. Did you hear that? That was a cannon strike. That's part of the competition. You can't make that up. I think it scared the goodness out of the the crowd. They're looking around. What just happened? We are about 100 yards, 100 meters or so away from a cannon demonstration. We have some men in tartan kilts doing a clan march and a demonstration of Scottish heritage here in Central California. So that is why the insignia of the California Classic is traditionally the Scotsman. Any of you viewers who are watching from Scotland, I hope you appreciate the shout out. Lots of Scottish pride here in Central California. This is an annual event that had to be canceled because of COVID-19, like many other events last year, and the Fresno Scottish Society is very happy to have it back on. They are offering something for all ages, folks. We got all sorts of traditional Celtic meals, not just Scottish, but Irish and Welsh as well. Some displays of Celtic music, some performances, some traditional Highland games. That is a separate event. We got some men in kilts throwing some very heavy objects, women as well. So that is why we use the Scotsman insignia for the Fresno Highland Games. Looks like there seems to be a discussion between the fighter from Ursus and a marshal. Looks like they're doing an inspection. We want to tell you once again, there was a little bit of a shuffle. The Golden Horde and the Warpigs were ready to go at it again. We actually jumped an event here, but we're back now. So this is going to be the Gauntlet in Rose versus Ursus Fight Club. A fun fact, these two teams share a very special history. The Gauntlet in Rose was founded by Mark Jackson, Chris Wemmer, who are former members of Ursus. There's another cannon strike. I hope you folks can hear it because it's exciting here. But Gauntlet in Rose was founded by two Knights of the Order. They are Knights that have been dubbed in a chivalric order, or chivalric order. They are the founding members of Gauntlet Rose, but these two teams, because there is a history, because Gauntlet Rose is essentially a sister organization of sorts to the Ursus Fight Club. They maintain close contact, they do joint practices, and that is actually a tenet of HMB USA, is these fighters love to train together. You know, it is really funny because today, just those of you at home see these fighters trying to knock the spit out of each other and hitting each other with their axes and swords and shield punches and everything, but last night they were sharing drinks, sharing stories, sharing fellowship, and they'll do that tonight as well. The list you see around you, this wooden structure here, well, it looks like the fight's about on. We'll tell you more about the list in a moment. Oh, they're hugging it out. I thought they were going for a very interesting opening attack. But this is just what I was talking about, folks. This is the history between these two teams. They love to fight, and they have a lot of respect for one another. So the list you see around you, it's that wooden structure running the perimeter of the fighting ring here, the fighting space, was put together last night. It was a joint effort of fighters from all different teams. Anybody who was here was helping put together this list, and good thing they did, because the fight's been so intense. We've already destroyed this list 4 times already. People have thrown fighters through the wood, and the wood went shattering. And so we had Mark Jackson, who is the captain of Gauntlet Rose, took off his helmet, grabbed a set of screws and bolts, screwdriver and bolts, and went to put the list back together. So thankfully, we haven't had it. It's been reinforced 3 times now. But that is a sign of how intense the fighting is. How strong these guys are throwing each other. And you can see those are I believe 4-inch by 4-inch wood beams held together by, I believe they're 8-inch bolts. They may be more. They're also staked to the ground. But these fighters are just ripping them right out. Shows you how tough they are. So it looks like there is a little bit of a discussion amongst the marshals, make sure everything is kosher with the equipment. And the fight is off. Here we go. We see the opening salvo. Scurrying around. Gauntlet Rose fighter down. Oh, a good takedown by a Gauntlet Rose fighter. Ursus fighter brought down. He hit the ground hard. Here it is. It's all taking place in this one corner of the list. We like to do wide shots whenever we can, but we'll go for a tight shot here, folks, because this is where all the fighters are. These situations develop so quickly and they move so fast, it's almost hard to keep these men on camera. We have a piece of armor that has fallen. Piece of armor has fallen. Looks to be an elbow piece. We've had a number of elbow pieces go down. Looks like the marshals are having a little pause. They're going to inspect to see the nature of the damaged armor. Looks to be one of the knights from the Gauntlet and the Rose has lost a piece of armor. Ursus is going to take that round. 3 points for Ursus. Fighters having a bit of a discussion, talking strategy. We got a call for a medic. Seems to be an injury. Our medic is stepping into action. Fighters are taking a well-needed breath of fresh air while the marshals chat there. They seem to be discussing a staffing issue. It may be a question of whether there is enough fighters on Gauntlet and the Rose. They have already suffered a number of injuries. Ursus is having a powwow of sorts. We can actually hear them from the press booth. We'll let you know what they say. And the chat. It's three levels here. Gauntlet and the Rose is having their own chat. The marshals are discussing what the outcome of this is going to be. Ursus itself is having a fight.
There's some of them that they use horses. That's
Marshals are breaking now. And it looks like the fight will resume. We have not yet heard a definitive answer. There's another cannon strike, as if to punctuate the silence. All right, we'll see what comes of this, folks. This is really where it comes down to the wire. This is where the teams are really starting to feel the effects of the heat. They're starting to feel the effects of the fights they've already endured. And once again, a number of the teams that are fighting today come from all over the U.S. Now, if you'd like to find out more, find a team near you. You can log on to usahmb.com to join the fight. I'd love to get you in armor, take a few test swings, see how you like it. Because as you can see, these teams, they love to have depth. It is a brutal game, but it is rewarding. And that's why we are so glad to have the California Classic back on the air. The California Classic has been a long partnership with the Fresno Highland Games. It is organized in very warm and sunny Fresno, California, Central California for our European viewers right now, that is in the western part of the United States. And we are feeling that western U.S. heat today. Forecast called for about 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty warm for what some of these guys usually practice with. We have teams, like I said, from all over the U.S. A number of these teams, like Ursus Fight Club here, they are based in the Bay Area, so about 3 or 4 hours north, where it is a bit cooler because you are right on the Pacific Ocean there. We've got some teams from Michigan, where it is no doubt cooler. We've got some teams from Central California, Southern California. We got teams from all over the place. And that's what's so great. about this sport is that not only are there people from Central California that love to put on medieval armor and fight like crazy, but there are people from all over the United States, all over the world. This is an official HMB USA event. Some of the fighters that come here will go to represent the United States at Battle of the Nations. Obviously, you know, they ought to take it one fight at a time, but these people that are here are training to fight the best in the world. And armored combat is a sport that is observed all over the world. So let's talk a little bit more about the equipment. We've had a number of equipment issues, number of equipment breaks. Let's talk specifically about some of the most common weapons. Some of the most common weapons, you will see a lot of two-handed weapons. The axe, or the two-handed axe, the halberd, koos, I believe it is called, if I'm not butchering that. You know how I feel about trying to pronounce European languages. We are very happy to have European viewers with us right now, and that is why I'm so sorry that I'm such a stereotypical American who can't pronounce European words. I hope you'll forgive me. But there are lots of pieces of equipment. About 60 pounds of equipment is on that fighter right now. Yeah, the fighter makes his return with applause from the crowd. Looks like there was an equipment issue of sorts. And that's the thing, folks. Equipment does break. Things do go down. But, you know, we do not want to see fighters have to leave the list because they don't have working equipment. And after much ado, with the cannon shot no less, Ursus and Gauntlet the Rose resume their contest. Both teams playing conservatively. Ursus is captain, urging some aggression here. And there it is. There's the opening scrum. A Gauntlet and Rose fighter down. We've moved to the north side of the list now. We're going to try to capture it. 2 Gauntlet Rose fighters down. We're going to try to keep as much action in frame as we can. Looks like an Ursus fighter goes down. It is now. It looks to be it. Ursus wins that match by 4 points. Ursus is the victor here. One of the fighters from Ursus thanking the Gauntlet fighters for a good fight. And that's what you love to see. That's the kind of sportsmanship and chivalry that you love to see. You know, this fight started cordial with both teams walking out to give each other hugs, and it ended cordial with the victors thanking their opponents for a good, respectful fight. Now, it does appear to be another Gauntlet fighter down. Marshals are addressing it. Now, something to keep in mind, folks, not every fighter who goes down is in catastrophic injury. Sometimes they just need help up. It is exhausting. Now, this fighter does appear to be needing some help to his feet, and that can happen. All right, we'll return to the wide shot here as the teams file in. We have the Warpigs wearing their, let's say it's kind of like a teal, a bluish green. The Warpigs are coming in, entering the list from the north side.
Get him out of the heat first. Get him in some shade.
Looks like the medic has been called, so there might be a little bit of a lull in the fight, which I'm sure these fighters are eager to see. So, we have the Warpigs versus the Golden Horde. The Golden Horde is going to be taking the southern side of the list again. For those of you just joining us in the stream, you are watching the California Classic. After a year off from COVID, we are excited to be back for the 5th annual California Classic. The California Classic uses the image of the Scotsman as its logo because this is part of the Fresno Highland Games. I don't know if you can hear it at home. The cannon shot in the distance there punctuates the fights every now and then. There's a lot of wonderful competitions going on. We have all sorts of displays of Celtic pride. The Fresno Scottish Society is the one organizing the larger event here in Kearney Park in Fresno County. It's a fantastic demonstration of Scottish, Welsh, Celtic, and Iberian Celtic too. I did see a demonstration from dating back to the classical era. You know, folks, this is a really great activity. We're very happy to have you with us. This is Buhurt is a sport that involves a lot of different interests. It involves a carnal thirst for violence, for one thing, but it also involves a love of history, a love of culture, a love of learning about other cultures. This is a sport that is enjoyed all over the world, and it encourages mutual respect and education on other cultures. Here's the Golden Horde and the Warpigs squaring off in the center of the list. The teams dividing. Warpigs having a few designated strikers there with the two-handed axe, going in to deliver some just punishing blows. Looks like we haven't seen any fighters fall yet. The Golden Horde is eager to hold on to some of their momentum that they've seen. Lots of rotation, folks. We're doing our best to get you all the action, but these fighters are moving quicker. And 2 fighters down. A Warpig fighter seems to bring down. A Warpig fighter has lost his weapon. He cannot fight back until that weapon is in his hand. The fighter is holding it out. He's trying to grasp it. That's what's happening on the... That's what it is. He's stuck. You see that is Dylan Sweeney there, a newer member of the Warpigs, fighting to stay up. As someone who has taken a punch from him before, I can tell you, he hits hard. They want him to stay up. They want him to continue in this fight. He's doing his best, but he's having trouble with his weapon. Now this is hard because we've got 2 fights going on at both ends of the stream. We'll see if we can take it to the live. Okay, looks like the fights are consolidating here. The Golden Horde member laying into there, and he's down. He appears to have overextended. You can see he's frustrated about that, but that can happen. It looks to be 2-on-1. They're doing the best. Here's where Dylan Sweeney comes in, nicknamed Jotun by his teammate. The giant of Norse mythology coming in for the strikes. And we'll see, it's just this. He's going for the power shots, but they're trying to watch the spine. You are not allowed to strike directly overhead on the spine. The Golden Horde fighter is still up, but he is toppled by a member of the Warpigs. Once again, folks, this is what we were talking about. Best case scenario for a fighter who is brought down is they can be used as a tripping block for an opponent. We saw that fighter there with the Golden Horde fought as well as he could, and he would have probably caught himself had he not tripped over that member of the Warpigs. These fighters are told to, once they go down, to become like stone. They're not allowed to move. They can't flail out their legs. But if their opponent, or if the active fighters can, they will try to maneuver around them, maybe use them as a tripping block, because that's exactly what happened. To the Golden Horde's credit, it is very hard to see in these helmets. There's a number of different types of helmets. The most popular helmet seems to be the helmet that involves the chainmail in front of the visor, or the lack of the visor, excuse me. You see there's the wolf rib helmet. That's what you're looking at right there, the one that looks almost like a bird cage. That's called a wolf rib helmet. That one usually offers the best breathability and vision. Now, some of these fighters that have chainmail over their face is not exposed under that chainmail. There is a cage of sorts under it. But then if you see someone who's got a helmet like mine here, this is more of a visored helmet. These are very good for stopping some very abrasive shots to the face. However, as you can see, your vision is very much limited because you really only have peripheral vision. And your breathing is limited as well, too. This helmet has holes drilled in the visor for breathability. It's modeled after the fresco of Spoleto, Italy. That is found in, I believe, the about 14th century. A lot of these helmets, though, follow what's called a bassinet, which is this curvature on top of the helmet. Basically, what you want that for is you want the overhead strikes to gleam off rather than catch on a flat surface. All right, here is round 2. A very taxing round, that last one. That fight went on a long time. Here we can see they're taking the fight to the Warpigs corner. Kicking up a lot of dust, but all the fighters seem to be up as of now. We can hear armor ringing as if someone struck a bell. Looks like a fighter. We've lost a helmet. That's very dangerous. The Marshals jumping in there. Okay, one fighter is down. The helmet, they've rolled that fighter to safety. That is not what you want to see. Looks like a Golden Horde member has gone down, if I'm not mistaken. There's so much dust, it's hard to see. Here it is. The scrum is coming to the north. You hear a member of the Warpigs entourage shouting for them to keep their team. A fighter has fallen under the list. That's it. That's the fight. The Marshals have stopped competition. We're waiting word of what exactly is the nature of this cessation. Golden Horde has won with 3 points. Folks, this is really where these fighters have to dig deep. They are exhausted. Keep in mind, we've been on the air for about an hour and 10 minutes, but these men have been fighting in armor all day. They are exhausted. This is when it really becomes almost a mental game. Injuries do happen. The roster gets thinner, but these fighters are digging deep as best they can. They're going to have a little chat, talk some discussion here. Now it looks like they're still in the list. The Marshals, I mean, are still on the list doing some inspections. We have, once again, this is the Golden Horde versus the Warpigs. Marshals making their the Marshals making their last round of inspections. Golden Horde, of course, based in Los Angeles, California. Very happy they could make the drive north. About 4 or 5 hours, depending on which part of LA you live in. And really, it could be between 5 and 10, I guess, with traffic. God help you if you've got LA traffic. Yeah, but the fighters are, they're digging deep right now. They're talking themselves up, doing their best to keep the eyes on the prize. And that's hard to do right about now. Looks like the Golden Horde is doing a little bit of shuffling there, talking strategy. The Marshals are saluting and they're clearing the way so the fighters can come in and take their spots. A little bit of a sweep action there. Some good meaningful contact, but he's left his back exposed. That's not good. That's gonna hurt. He's got to make an adjustment. Otherwise, he might be held. He might not have a choice. He is brought down. A good move, a good move. Another fighter down. Looks like a Warpig is down. The fighters are scurrying about. Looks to be, they're moving so quick. Another Warpig brought down. Looks like okay, that is the fight. Golden Horde, a clean sweep. The Horde has claimed 5 points this round. They are pumped up, albeit exhausted, but pumped up. You really have to admire them. All right, this next fight, we are taking Ordo Draconis versus Cerberus Emissus. Ordo Draconis, of course, the team from Southern California. Cerberus Emissus from Portland, Oregon, much cooler up there. A number of Cerberus fighters drove through the night Thursday night, got here in the wee hours of the morning Friday, got as much sleep as they could, and then got to work helping Gauntlet and the Rose put together this list. An amazing display of fraternity and sportsmanship. A lot of work goes into pulling off these events. California Classic is the cooperation of hundreds, if not close to 1,000 volunteers who are passionate about their Celtic roots, passionate about their history, passionate about their armored combat. A number of the fighters here competing today are current or former military. We thank them for their service, and we are very grateful they found this outlet. They are no strangers to being a part of a cause greater than themselves. No doubt their discipline and training and mental toughness serves them well in this competition. Here we can see the Cerberus fighters getting inspected by the marshal there. They're coming in one at a time. The marshal will inspect them. Common area to see a problem is underneath the chainmail there. They want to make sure that the helmet is strapped. All the padding is working well. And it looks like the fighters for Cerberus will be on the south side. The sun is slowly getting lower. Fortunately, we have some nice, pleasant shade to keep us, I won't say cool. It's quite warm still, even in the shade. But here's the thing, folks. I'm sitting under a tent. I got my water. I got my coffee. I'm not going to complain when these guys are out here in 60 pounds of steel, sweating themselves to death, taking axes to the head. We, from a viewing standpoint, are really grateful for what they do. So after this bout, we have a special treat. We're going to be talking with Daniel Krug, who is one of the members of Cerberus, a founding member at that, actually. Don't want to sell him short. Involved with HMB leadership for a while. Instrumental in making this fight happen. You hear the war cry of Ordo Draconis. They're ready to fight. You know, something that's very telling is a lot of these fighters are not even leaning on the list. Lots of fighters will lean on the list to stabilize themselves. Now Ordo is moving in. They seem to be closing in. Interesting formation there. I don't know what to make of that, but we'll see how it serves them. Oh, that's a hit. Some nasty hits from the axe. It would appear now, perhaps Cerberus is trying to keep the sun out of their eyes, maintain control of the western flank of the list. Some savage strikes, some movement. Cerberus fighter, I believe that's Daniel Krug, if I'm not mistaken, jumping in action and seeing his teammate in peril. Here you can see what they're doing. Oh, some grabbing of the axe. That's good. He's successfully stolen his opponent's weapon. He will drop it. That weapon is as good as gone. However, Ordo is ready. They come in and grab an alternate. The fighters are all in a straight line right now. There's a lot of good movement. Both of these teams are very good at moving. We'll see if we can take a corner shot here to give you a very good. These teams are moving around a lot, but they are now on the southwestern side of the list. And there's a Cerberus fighter brought down. They're trying to stay up. Open field moves are hard. The Ordo fighter has been left without a weapon, but he cannot get the axe. He is brought down before he retrieves the axe. A beautiful move by Daniel Krug of Cerberus. And here's where it is. This is a battle in the trenches now. Both teams utilizing the list. God, I tell you, folks, I would not want to be stuck between them right now. Looks like another Ordo fighter brought down. Lost a gauntlet. The marshals jump in. That fighter will crawl to safety. This is where the action is happening, folks. Ursus, Emissus, Cerberus Emissus appears to have an extra fighter. They're working the double teams now. Some savage kicks. And he might be down. He's brought down. That Ordo fighter is brought down. It appears to be maybe, it's hard to see. Okay, that Ordo fighter is down. This fight is over. That is the fight. That is about as close as it gets, as hard fought as it gets. Both teams really digging deep right now. We have a call for a medic on the northern side of the list. Northwest corner, they're getting the helmet off. Out of respect for the fighter, we will not get too close because sometimes they just need air. We'll make sure that they have air, they can breathe. Because, folks, this is hard enough to do this contest when it's cool and when it's, not warm. These guys are really having to push themselves. This is really, really difficult. And they are doing well. The California Classic is a staple of mid-September, but this is mid-September in Fresno, California. Just for reference, about 2 weeks ago, it was about 105 degrees here in Central California. Right now it is upper 80s, which feels cool, relatively speaking, but that is still brutally hot. That is still very, very, very warm. Especially when you're in 60 pounds of armor, you risk overheating constantly. And we are really grateful for the men fighting today and the folks supporting them as well. Ordo having a discussion amongst themselves, mending some equipment in this time that they have. Fighters are taking advantage of this lull in the combat, but I mean, even just standing in armor is difficult. And frankly, nothing is easy in armor. Nothing is easy. Making some equipment adjustments. Fighters tending to their P's and Q's. You are watching the California Classic, made possible by Buhurt League and HMB USA, two fantastic organizations working together to bring you some medieval carnage here at the Fresno Highland Games. Lots of fighters competing today are locally grown. Speaking of locally grown, the media team at CMAC and ABC 30 is proud to come together to make this happen. We got a mix of professional and volunteer camera crew making this production happen. So we're keeping a wide look at the list here now. You can see the sun is starting to make those shadows cast further, but we are approaching the zenith of the sun's heat. Okay, and the fight is on. Ordo moving in action. I think I see what Cerberus is doing now. They are trying to stay shoulder to shoulder for the most part, maintain control of the list. Some contact there, just out of range of this camera. But that's where the action's happening right there. These folks are moving all over the place, folks. Faster than any camera can track. That's telling as to how talented these athletes are. Looks like we have a fighter down. Looks to be an Ordo fighter brought down. Needs to be some snagging of equipment. There we go. Now the fight. Yeah, there's two. A Cerberus fighter and an Ordo fighter. Now, once again, the fight it finds itself on the list again. That's where the fights tend to go. Here it is. We're going to follow the action. Fighters moving around very quickly. Moving around all over the place. This is where their training really kicks in. They're maneuvering, their situational awareness. Another Ordo fighter brought down, stepping out of the list. Cerberus seems to have the upper hand here, but the fight is not over. We see an Ordo fighter fighting the bitter end. He's brought down, tripped over his own teammate. They have much to be proud of. Looks like the medic is being scrambled again. Cerberus will win this fight by 4. The medic, no doubt, getting more calls to service the hotter it gets. The fighters are going to take a moment. Cerberus coming off a very well-earned victory. You're watching the California Classic. Fight's been going on all day long. This is really the final rounds that you're watching right now. So the fighters are quite tired, but we are happy to have them. In just a minute, we're going to talk with Daniel Krug, who is one of the team members, team leaders, I should say. I don't want to sell him short of Cerberus. We're going to chat with him in just a moment. Check in with him, see how his team is doing, talk about the event as a whole. He should be back here shortly. Looks like Niaz or Knyaz. Doing my best to pronounce it, folks. However you say it, they've been cleaning the floor today. Their parent organization is no doubt very proud of them. They're doing a cheer here in the center of the list, ready to fight. The Warriors of the Sun here seem unaffected by the summer heat. They seem ready to go. They're meeting up against Ursus Fight Club, a display of goodwill here. Ursus Fight Club meeting in Concord, California to fight, to train, to practice. Fighters giving a show of sportsmanship and chivalry before the fight starts in earnest. You love to see that. Savages from start to finish. Savage from start to finish, but gentlemen when it matters. Fighters are ready, they salute each other. And they are coming in. Wow, look at that. Niaz springing into action. Throwing blows. The fight devolving to the two corners. An Ursus fighter brought down. Another Ursus fighter brought down. Now here's an equipment switch. A Niaz fighter kept his weapon, but felt the two-handed axe was more appropriate for the situation. And there you see it at work. A savage strike followed by a punch. It looks like the marshals have stopped the fight. Doing inspection, want to make sure everyone has their equipment. He's approaching the press box. Niaz, 4 points. I don't believe this round they have won a round by fewer than 4 points. These Niaz fighters are pumped up. They are feeling the heat of the sun they wear proudly on their tabards. Doing a little chat, talk some strategy. I think a personnel looks like the Ursus fighter seems a little bit worse for wear. They're going to check on him. That can happen. This is a very violent sport. However, as we've seen, it is also very gentlemanly, and that's what's important. Might appear to be an equipment issue as well. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether it's an equipment issue or a physicality issue, because both can happen and do happen frequently in this game. That Ursus fighter getting a little attention from his team captain, I believe. Meanwhile, the Niaz fighters are chatting amongst each other. I can't imagine that they're talking strategy, because really, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like I imagine it's not much to say. Looks like they are loosening up. A war cry demonstration. And something worth pointing out, all of these fighters know each other, and they want to see each other's best. They want to win, but they don't want to win against an opponent who's not fighting 100%. Honor is very important. They want to win when their opponent is at their strongest. So they'll chirp a little bit. They might chat during the match, like in situations like now, give a little war cry, try to get in their opponent's heads a little bit. Looks to be an equipment issue in Niaz. Doing an adjustment. Really, you got to adjust as you go. Ideally, each fight club would have a pit crew of sorts. All right, looks like the marshals are ready. They're signaling. The fight is on. Look at that energy from Niaz. Oh, a fighter brought down. Seems to have tripped. That can happen. You were awfully top-heavy in armor. Okay, Ursus fighter down. Another Ursus fighter down. At least 3 Ursus fighters down. Fighters are kind of sprawled about. And that seems to be the fight. Niaz has won by 4 again. This is an 8-point meetup for Niaz. They're just racking up the points. And if I'm not mistaken, that is their final contest of the afternoon. What a way to end. They are pumped up. Even after they're done fighting, they're still ready to go. We are approaching the closing rounds of the California Classic. This is the final round. It is already upon us. The final fight, I should say, not the final round. The final fight between the Gauntlet and Rose and the Warpigs of Sacramento. just as Gauntlet and Rose has a special bond with Ursus, Gauntlet and Rose also enjoys a special connection with the Warpigs of Sacramento. Dylan Sweeney, we talked about him, one of the big strikers, the big axemen for Warpigs, is a knight of the Gauntlet and Rose. He recently relocated to the Warpigs grounds. Also Dante Swift, a member of the Gauntlet and Rose team, trains regularly with the Warpigs as well. And that really is a tenet of HMB USA. They love to see teams train together. They love to see teams learn from one another, share notes, as it were. And we're hearing a war cry from Gauntlet and Rose. This is a home game for them of sorts. This is their fight. They are eager to put on a good display, put on a good fight. Looks like the Warpigs are doing a little bit of strategizing, seeing which weapon would be best for the matchup. They got to keep an eye on that equipment. They got to keep an eye on that equipment. As this is the final matchup, theoretically, you leave nothing on the field. Look at that, a display of sportsmanship. The two fighters coming out. That's Mark Jackson, the captain of the team, coming to greet his Warpig counterpart. Teams meeting midfield, mid-list for a demonstration, for hugs and well wishes. It's always kind of funny to see men in armor hug each other. It's such a sweet gesture while one is dressed for war. You know, we're crossing our wires a little bit, but that's okay. If nothing else, that's what Buhurt's about. It's about wholesome violence, if such a thing makes sense. The fighters are taking to their sides of the list, and fatigue is a very real element. They're leaning on the list to keep themselves up, to get some. Oh, no, that's really cool. Dylan Sweeney of the Warpigs giving a salute to his opponent. And here we are, meeting in the middle. Interesting matchup. They might be using a different set of rules here. A gentleman's agreement for the final round. Gauntlet and Rose fighter brought down, and then it's on. The first blood arrangement. The first blood has gone in favor of the Warpigs. You see Mark Jackson and Dylan Sweeney meeting up, roaring playfully at each other's faces. You love to see this violence, and you know it all comes to a good place. Another Gauntlet fighter brought down. Warpig brought down as well. Gauntlet fighter brought down. It looks like we have stopped the fight. This one's going to go to the Warpigs. Looks to be, if I had to guess from here, 4 points. 4 points. We do seem to have an injury. We'll have the medic come out here. Medic's coming out. Fighter seems to be all right. If I'm not mistaken, that is fighter Brian Abella of Gauntlet and Rose. Finding his feet. Finding his way out of the list. Gauntlet and Rose fighters catching their breath as best they can, as are the Warpigs. You'll see them leaning against the list, maybe making some equipment switches, switching out their equipment, making sure that everything works. Works for their battle plan, that is. A number of fighters have a distinct favorite weapon, but depending on the circumstances, they may favor a different one. We've already seen that a number of times. Where a fighter has started with one weapon, run to the sideline, swapped out, and taken another. Fighters making an agreement of sorts. Talking with the Knight Marshal there, making an arrangement. That was cool to see. see that first blood agreement. We'll see what they'll. It looks like they made another arrangement. Looks like one of the Warpigs fighters will remain. Yep, there you go. One of the Warpigs fighters will remain in reserve as the Gauntlet of the Rose is down a fighter. So it is essentially a 4-on-4. A really great gesture on the Warpigs. A wonderful takedown there. It's a really great gesture on the Warpigs' effort to not try to disqualify their opponent. You love to see that. You love to see that sportsmanship. They'll fight as hard as they can. Another Gauntlet fighter down. They'll fight as hard as they can. Another Gauntlet fighter down. That is the fight. A wonderful display of sportsmanship. Warpigs take a 5-point victory on that. That is the contest. The final round, the Warpigs enjoy a 5-point victory. The Warpigs from Sacramento, and they're really pushing themselves because it is usually much cooler. It looks like the Night Marshals are running some numbers. They are doing a little chat. As we've said, the California Classic has been a round-robin tournament. It is traditionally held at the Fresno Highland Games. And we are really excited to be back. We had to take a break. And we have a very special treat. Mark Jackson, who is the Knight Captain of the Gauntlet of the Rose, is joining us fresh off the fight. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to be exhausted right now.
I am quite exhausted. I'll get this helmet off right here.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's about 20 pounds. 20 pounds.
So talk to the folks at home. We've been talking about the equipment and how it's very taxing just to even stand up. Give some perspective for the folks at home how it feels to wear armor in this heat.
So I'm wearing about an inch thick padded coat called a gambeson. You can kind of see the edge of it here. I'm also wearing the same around my legs. On top of that, I have different pieces of armor. Go ahead and pull away my tabard here, kind of show them a little bit. I have a whole coat of plates here. I'm covered in plate legs, as you might have seen when I was sitting down. This whole outfit weighs probably about 80 pounds.
Wow, 80 pounds. That's a lot in this heat.
Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've upgraded most of my armor to titanium, as you can see on my shoulders and my arms here. Weighs a lot less, probably half as much. A lot of these guys out here getting started are wearing steel, probably closer to 100 pounds additional weight.
So we want to talk a little bit about the event that you guys have pulled off here. Traditionally, this is an event that you have about a year to plan. You essentially did it this time in 3 months. How did you pull that off?
Well, props to my good friend Landon here. He reached out to me a while ago. Landon, I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have been essential in getting this done. You've been key and instrumental. Also, a big shout out to HMB USA, that's Historical Medieval Battle USA, Daniel Krug, the whole board, all of the committees of HMB USA have just been so vital getting this done, raising the funds. This is about a $7,000 venture out here. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We absolutely would love to have the support of our viewers to bring more action like this. But it's just a lot of people, like I've mentioned, coming together who are very passionate about this, and a lot of sweat, man. A lot of sweat putting this stuff together.
So, I mean, we're seeing it right now. You know, something that we've been talking about has been the displays of sportsmanship. You know, it's funny because on one hand, you guys are trying to kill each other. You're knocking each other with steel weapons. But, you know, we saw some really awesome demonstrations, particularly between your team and Ursus and your team and the Sacramento Warpigs. Tell us a little bit about the culture that is involved in armored combat.
Well, I won't deny the level of violence at all, but we're really not trying to kill each other. We are all part of the conglomerate team known as HMB Team USA. And we all come together in qualifier, which is going to happen in a few months, and we're going to decide who's going to go to Romania to represent the United States. It's been my honor and pleasure to participate in that international team twice. I fought in Prague and Italy. And we're not really trying to kill each other, but the level of violence is real. I'm sitting here grimacing because I'm probably got about a 9 out of a 10. I got nailed in the shoulder out there. I yelled pretty loud. My arm's pretty much dead right now.
Well, Mark, we know you want to get with your team, so we thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you a very merry ice bath that is no doubt in your near future. We really appreciate you coming to chat with us here today.
So what we're getting ready to do right now is we're going to hand out the medals for first, second, and third place. This was 7 teams on the West Coast, some of the best teams in the USA, and we just can't thank our viewers and our support and the public. You guys are just great. You guys help us put this together. Thank you so much.
All right, Mark, we'll let you get back in the list there, and we will bring those results to you as well. Here you're seeing the royal company, as it were, the company proper. Each team gathering together to take some pictures, make a demonstration of sorts, a final demonstration there with their flags and their banners, and a little bit of a parade there. And these guys have to be exhausted. This is about as grueling as it gets, folks. This is real combat. These are real weapons, real armor. As Mark Jackson said, about 100 pounds of armor if you are wearing a full steel kit. Earlier we said 60. 60 is if you're optimistic. It is a much heavier kit. These guys are no doubt going to eat a lot, hopefully drink a lot of water, but each one of them, regardless of the standings, has a reason to be proud today. They fought well, they fought with honor, they fought with conviction, they fought with tenacity. Now, if you're watching this and you want to get involved, there's a number of things you can do. You can log on to usahmb.com or buhurtleague.com. You can find a chapter near you. As Mark said, we got 7 teams from all over the place. And there's Mark Jackson, who was kind of serving as a master of ceremonies as well. You know, I tell you what, he's probably the busiest man in the Western Hemisphere today. He's going to signal to the DJ to bring down the music so that we can find out the victors. So there's going to be a medal ceremony of sorts. We're going to pass those results on to you as well. There we see Mark Jackson standing in the center of the list. We'll see if we can maybe listen in. We don't want to get too much music, though. The music is important to pump the fighters up, but when we got something to talk about. Some announcements here. Mark Jackson here telling us about the 6 p.m. chicken barbecue. That's very important after a fight like this. You want some barbecue. I don't know if you can hear, so I'll go ahead and summarize, but Mark Jackson is thanking everybody for coming out. A war cry from the troops, acknowledging those who fought bravely, suffered some injuries along the way, but fought bravely nonetheless. We'll see if we can get closer to him and maybe pick him up with our microphone.
How many people had fun at this event?
Yeah!
Alright, we're going to get all of the nitty-gritty details, the pros and cons, feedback. We welcome all of that. That's how we make events better. I'm happy to say that there were no major malfunctions on the field today, and the fact that you guys didn't really try to kill anybody. You did a good job of paying attention to the marshals, and I feel like today is really a big successful event. There's no limit to the number of Buhurt League challengers that we can do in the USA and the North American Conference in Buhurt League. And in challenger events, so much of that authenticity. We invite all of our friends to come have fun again. And then they can get their kits right, and then we can do bigger things like Opens and Masters and Buhurt Prime.
I want to go to Mexico.
Woo! Yeah.
Host a tournament in your area, you guys. Get people down there. Get
That's
it
what we're doing.
It's
coming.
HMB USA will even help you pay for that.
So guys, I want to peel away the mystery of how this happened. I went online to the website, hmbusa.org or .com, and I filled out an application, said I'd love to do an event. They said, tell me what you got a plan about. They had a committee and they said, it looks good, let's do it. They sent me a huge budget to make this happen. That's because we're all paying $9 a month. It's a cup of coffee, but look what you've got for your cup of coffee. It's that easy. You fill out an application and the board asks you follow-up questions and you can do this.
It's a great idea, whoever thought of it.
All right. So, without further ado, I give you our night marshal, Joe.
Jason.
Jason. Sorry. I called you Joe all day. You know what? Because you did a good job, Joe would be proud. All right, so I hold in my hand the third place medals. These boys are heavy. I got a new vendor. I like these medals. So let's go ahead and start with 7th place and work our way up. Going in row!
In 7th place, the Order of the Gauntlet and Rose.
Yeah, thank you.
6th place goes to Ursus!
This is Fight Club, 6th place.
7th place!
I punched him. He hasn't
Somebody hit me in the head out there.
That is true, we saw that.
Goes to Warpigs! 4th place goes to the Golden Horde! Ordo Draconis!
3rd place is Ordo Draconis.
What's up, cousin?
Some cheers there from Ordo Draconis. War cry for the 3rd place finishers. Ordo Draconis of San Diego, California.
I gotta tell you before I move on, halfway through the tournament, we almost had a three-way tie for 1st place. It was so close. There was a little bit pulling away. We got into the 2nd half of the game. And it's almost like things landed. Niaz USA! Good job, Knyaz.
Niaz USA.
What's your name mean? Which one?
Seems might be the winner here. We'll wait for some clarification.
Yes! You know, the guy that made the medals, he completely randomly put these colors together. I swear he did. Sure. We all believe that story. He's also very humble.
Yeah, they're fine.
No, I picked these up at midnight at Starbucks on Horde in '99. Yeah, the guy in Clovis did a great job. So, 1st place!
Here it is, 1st place.
Cerberus Emissus!
The 5th annual California Classic.
Or it's this metal. Yeah, it's metal, not gold.
See Mark Jackson giving the
Yeah, absolutely.
medals to the fighters of Cerberus Emissus.
Yeah, that's 3 cups of coffee.
Gentlemen, let's give one big final round of applause
One last
for
final applause.
our organizers, not me. I'm talking about HMB USA. I'm talking about
the league, our
CMAC. I'm
sponsors.
talking about the Fresno Scottish
Your league.
Highland Games.
The organizers of today's event, which is the Fresno Highland Games.
Yeah. Woo! Let's go
right,
get
folks.
cleaned up and let's get some food.
Get cleaned up and get some food. Versus 5th, Sacramento Warpigs. 4th, Los Angeles Golden Horde. 3rd,
Manny,
The
kill
Ordo
my audio.
Draconis
Kill the
of
audio.
Southern California. Niaz USA in second place. And Cerberus Emissus in first place. Here you see another display of sportsmanship. Fighters, now that they're done killing each other for the day, giving a good handshake, hugs, well wishes, group chants, and the like. We'll see if we can go ahead and pull apart, or not pull apart, but pull over. He's already been pulled apart. You've seen him fight. Daniel Krug, who was instrumental in making this California Classic happen today. We'll see if he comes over here. But frankly, he's got a lot to celebrate. As one of the three heads of Cerberus Emissus, he is no doubt very excited to take home those medals back to their home area, Portland, Oregon. Again, more fighters giving some well wishes. Shaking hands, saluting of the swords. And folks, one more time before we go, we'd like to thank our media sponsors that made it happen. First of all, the amazing folks at CMAC, which is Community Media Access Collaborative, a fantastic group of people. And our friends at ABC 30 Action News, of which I am an employee. Also our league sponsors, Buhurt League and HMB USA. Events like this are made possible by members and membership dues. We are really excited to be back. We hope to have more events like this in the future. These events are the results of lots of planning, lots of hard work, but now that hard work is done, and now people can go celebrate. If you have seen something that caught your eye and you want to join the fight, log on to usahmb.com. You'll find more information about how you can join, find a team near you, and get started today. Get yourself in armor, swing a sword. You never know what it'll awaken in you. That will end our coverage for today. You have been watching the California Classic. I've been your host, Landon Burke. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sending your comments. Thank you for sending your feedback. It's been a lot of fun. We hope to see you next time. Take care, everybody.